Am I wired up to the mic?
Yep.
Okay, need to put this thing in a better place. I just don't. Now, so far we haven't needed to use the chainsaw yet, which is nice because I don't like walking every morning. When that wind came through, boy, it really knocked a lot of trees down. I guess I spoke too soon, huh? See if we got any beavers. Looks like we got us some wood ducks flying away. Let's just take a second to check these traps. Ugh. That trap off. I tell you, get trap-wise beaver, boy, they're tough to get a hold of sometimes. Sometimes you got to change your equipment out. See if we got them over here. Nope. Didn't get them over here. It's out of here. And maybe there. On this beaver. I'm going to use a stake system on it instead of the earth anchor system because I don't want that beaver going anywhere. And if you're going to snare them on dry land, you better make sure you got swivels in your snares because they will spin them right off. And that is not good. So, first thing you need for that, you're going to need your homemade Dan Strand beaver killing lure. This lure is probably the best lure I've ever smelled, but the beaver seem to agree because they always come into it. Now Dan makes his own lure. He's got a variety of ingredients that go in there, and it just makes that bait so good. You know, so kudos to Dan for making that awesome lure. Anyway, you're gonna need some wire. So pull out your wire, pull out your snare, and grab your pliers, because you're going to need the pliers. So, here's the first thing I usually do is I usually uncoil a little bit of wire off of here. Enough to where I know when I set my stake in the bottom, I'm going to have enough to still make the set. So usually about 18 to 20 inches of wire generally does a set pretty well. So first thing I like to do is Grab my wire by the end, straighten it out as best you can, and then coil it around. Hang on to the big part so you got some leverage, and then start twisting your wire around until you create one full turn, and then bring it back, slide it past, grab your wire, do a quick twist and lock. Now your wire's solid. If you do that, then you don't have to worry about your snare support bouncing all over. And if you put this washer above your thing, then your cable can freely move around without getting tangled up in your support wire. Otherwise, that support wire's in there, and that just wrecks the whole action of the snare swivel. These snares are not the snares that I usually use for this, but I've got so many of these under ice snares that they're already set up with a mid-range swivel. So I figured I might as well use them. Besides, knowing that I got a swivel in line helps keep the beaver in good shape. And I make them all to the legal limit of 10. So here's the problem that you have when you set up with a snare like this instead of a snare that's straight, is you're going to have to bend this part of the snare down. If you bend it down, then your cable lays a lot nicer for your swivel to lock in. See, now your snare becomes straight. If you do that, now all you have to do is make your snare normally by putting your little J hook or whatever you're using on there, and you're good to go. So now here's what I do: is I put all my snares have a double ferrule with a loop on them, because that way I can wrap around anything, a stick, a stake, a tree branch, whatever. It's a solid anchor. And then when you got your snare all swiveled up, the beaver doesn't have a whole lot of cable to fight with, so he can't get too far away from shore, which is great because it keeps him from tangling up in trees. And to put this together, we spin our cable around our wire. By doing that, we can lengthen and shorten the cable. Now, to get to this point, what I like to try to do is I like to do at least one wrap around this, and then I take my pliers right here, and you give this the tightest little hook that you can. Just make it really tight. So that way, when your cable wraps around, you got a nice place to put that, and you tug back on this, roll that in. So now everything is hidden. Now if you need to adjust your snare, all you have to do is turn this part. The whole unit will roll. The set is now made. Reload your snare a little bit. Keep that oval. Don't make teardrops. Teardrops make beavers back out because their whiskers hit. If you make it so the snare's wider, their whiskers won't hit, and then they'll pass through. So that's just another good tip to know about that. Now, being that this beaver has already been trapped or attempted to be trapped by a special lure, I'm going to have to change my lure to something else just to break it up a little bit so it's a new scent. Now let's go over and quickly set this snare, being that it's all set up, and I'll show you how we can set this and blend it in to catch that beaver. Now, if you look at this set location, that would be a primary set right there. But being the beaver already snapped the trap right there, I don't want to put it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at another location. Now that spot right there may be a good one. This one over here is probably better because this one here has all the scent patties on it. So I know he's going to be coming into there. And by the way the ground is, I can tell that the grass, how he's moving. He's coming right up in here, and he's coming right up over there. Now he's going to avoid that spot. So If he avoids that spot, then I'm going to have to set my snare in this spot. I could set it here and catch him between this channel in open water, but I'd much rather do it here just because I know he's going to be coming back. So what you want to do is get that stake down in that ground. Sometimes these stakes can be live. So that's why I put a paddle on the end of them so I can drive them down by just wiggling them. But being that I got a situation here as normal, it's always got to be some damn thing. All right, now I'm gonna have to resort to caveman tech beaver not to have to work to pull it out. So step them down, and then readjust your wire. Now, this is the good part. One more rappy wappy around that part. With my pliers one more time. Finish out that loop so the snare doesn't come out of it. Nothing funnier than snaring beavers. It's a real testament to your ability to catch things without traps, those spring type traps. And this is a whole lot lighter. You start hauling beaver out of the woods, boy, you're going to be so tired. And carrying traps doesn't help. Now, what you want to do here, that's perfectly set. Now, a lot of guys are going to put a stick right there to try to guide them in there. It's fine, but just remember, anything that you add to this spot with a trap-wise beaver is going to make him wise. So, better off not putting it there and just leaving it like that. Maybe put one on this side, but just lay it there. And then you're going to definitely want to make it so that beaver, instead of going over there to that white stick, you'll pull that white stick over here, because that is the brightest thing that's at this location right now. So what I'll take is I'll take this other stick and I'll lay it right there. That way it looks natural, and the beaver, he already knows that stick was here because he moved it. And it's not uncommon for beaver to move sticks around where they're sitting. So use this lure, a different one, and throw that white stick up there so that beaver focuses on that white stick. And if you want to kind of mess them up a little bit more, there's only one here. So now there's two. He's going to freak over that. He'll be there. If he comes into the snare right, he'll be there in the morning.